Hey everyone, Cody Menz here with a video about the current Martian containers TL7 and also a little bit about this Call to Mars event, I believe, or Call to Mars challenge, and a lot of little things going on here and kind of what's going on. Going to be opening up some of these containers here that Wargaming gave out to us community contributors and talking a little bit about what you can get from them and like, is it worth it? So already start kind of opening one here and getting into the boxes, I guess. Yeah, before I get into the actual opening of things, what can you kind of expect from these, and is it really worth it? So this isn't the first loot box event we've seen recently, isn't going to be the last. Honestly, Wargaming doesn't seem like they're selling direct tanks anymore for new tanks. Either you find them locked behind like events like the battle pass, limited time like marathons, or limited time battle pass chapters, special events, or stuff like this, or even like auctions and stuff like that. Honestly, the way I see it, so you know, they want people to where if you don't own all of the tanks within this box, then essentially you're kind of gambling to be able to get the, say, new tank that's kind of the crown jewel, the TL7, at least for the NAEU server, since it has been out on the SAA server for a while. There's also the Tier 9 FV 4201 Chieftain Proto as well, and some other tanks. More or less though, so these boxes aren't like holiday ops. They're similar to the previous event where you're not getting a guaranteed amount of gold. I factor so like your worst pull that you could technically get. So when it comes to buying these boxes, you can buy them in bundles of 5, 15, 50, or 75. The 50 and 75 box bundles price the same per box, 90 cents. It's honestly just worth it to get the 50 because there's the pity pull if you don't pull a premium tank every 50 boxes. So there's no point in getting the 75 in my opinion, but maybe I'm completely missing something and I'm stupid. We'll see. But in any event, I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments. The worst thing I feel like you could get from this is the 5XP mission. From this, it's 100% probability. Are you going to get that all 50 boxes? Probably not, but worst case scenario, I kind of figure that's about 10 gold. You know, to me, it's kind of worthless because you get so much experience as it is. But yeah, it has some value, I guess. These personal reserves are the not great ones. They're not like the upper tier ones. Same with the credits here. Like the credits is decent, having 50% though. But yeah, that's one of the issues is like they do have a bit of fluff in here, mainly with these. Like premium time's okay, but then it's not a WoT Plus subscription. So really like the worst that you can get is like 10 gold here. And then you have a 25% probability for some training manuals, 20% probability for some cosmetics, and then a 2% probability with a guaranteed tank every 50 boxes for the premium. So more or less, like I factor like the worst that you'll get is about 7,700 gold per 50 boxes, and that's if you get the worst luck possible and you get nothing out of these probabilities, which is extremely unlikely. And you pull the KV5, which is only worth 6,700 gold. If you already own all of the tanks, like you are going to get the TL17 or TL7 first. But basically the cheapest tank in here is the KV5 at 6,700 gold, then the KV4 KTTS at 7,750 gold, and then the highest price ones are the Tier 9, or I didn't look at the TL7, excuse me, but there's the FV4201 Chieftain Proto at 1,300 gold, and the Tier 8 T44 100, it's actually pretty pricey. That's 11,200. Now, you know, do I agree with how they're monetizing things? Not necessarily, and I'm going to start opening things here. You know, just kind of getting through things. So far, you know, I'm just a few in here, and the 5X mission, you know, has popped up twice already. And those are honestly what, yeah, I don't really want to see because, you know, Wargaming throws experience at you left and right. But it seems like Wargaming's new strategy is for new tanks, instead of selling them directly to you in the shop, essentially what they're doing is they're putting them behind a loot box event. and or loot container event, whatever the hell you want to call it. And with that, if you don't own all the tanks already, so someone like myself that's played for a while, say if you're a newer player, even if you played for like 4, 5, 6 years, you might not have them all. You're really just gambling to see what you can get. You know, if you go up to that 50 bucks range, so 45 bucks, you know, it's essentially it's more money than you would be spending on most tier 8 premiums directly in the shop, just standalone. It's about the price of a tier 8 heavy tank. So they're locking it behind there to create some FOMO. And honestly, so like there's no point in going after a specific tank here if you don't care about all of the other cosmetic stuff and the crew stuff that's in these boxes, and especially the 5x missions, because you get, for every box you buy in the premium shop, you do get 1 per box already before you even open any boxes, where you can get more of them here. So you're better off just waiting, because so we've already seen with the Iron Arty recently that came out during holiday ops, Wargaming does put those tanks up for sale later for a direct sale. These events are basically just trying to get people to, you know, essentially spend more money to possibly get that brand new tank. And if you don't have everything, then the probability of you getting the TL7 isn't super great if you're missing like 3 or 4 tanks. Do I like this type of monetization? I don't love it, but at the same time, you know, Wargaming isn't forcing you to get these to where, you know, it's hard to hate them too much, but I wish that there was an option to basically buy the tank basically on its own without having to wade through all of the other tanks. But in their defense, you could just wait 3-4 months and basically pick it up later. However, you could wait a year, 2 years, who knows. So I get the frustration with that though. So far though, we've got, you know, lots of crew books, lots of 5XP missions, you know, some other random stuff, and a couple, you know, or I guess 3 or 4 styles it looks like. No tank yet though. I pretty much the only tank I don't own in this is the TL7, to where, you know, this is, I like the training manuals, like they're pretty useful. However, these boxes, just like the previous events, it's basically a lot of fluff to where, unless you're like a newer player and you don't care what tank you get out of it, these boxes are not worth it, in my opinion. They're really only worth it for, say, somebody that has all the tanks except for that TL17 or TL7. I keep putting a 1 in there. I don't know why. Where you're guaranteed to get that at basically $45 buying 50 boxes, or somebody who's newer who doesn't have many of those tanks, that essentially like you don't care what you get, but all this other stuff that you're getting, the missions, you know, they're useful for someone who needs experience, and all the little bonuses and stuff that you get as well. But it looks like we're going to hit the pity mechanic here. So the 50 boxes, and you know, to be completely honest, like if I had spent money on this, I wouldn't be too happy, just because, you know, the crew books, great, like I can use them. I have so many, honestly, 2D, and like, you know, when it comes to custom styles, like even camouflages, I have so many of these things that they're almost practically worthless to me. So I'm not a huge fan, you know, of only having, you know, a new tank locked behind a box to begin with. It's not the worst implementation they can do. However, you know, you will have a chance to buy this later on. Getting to the tank though, so this video I'm just going to talk about the tank. I'm not going to go too much into gameplay and stuff, but is it actually worth getting? I made a quick little YouTube short, because honestly there's not too much to go over about this tank. You know, first American autoloader, woohoo, way, terrific. You're basically getting a Char Future 4 that has worse accuracy, but you have extra gun depression. that basically sums it up in my opinion. It's kind of a generalist because, or a general statement, because you do have less damage per shot, less penetration. However, this tank isn't necessarily perfect. It's not like a must-have. It's not great. You know, it's classified as a tank destroyer, so a lot of times, like, you're basically a medium tank and you're technically being weighted against a TD. That could really hurt your team on a lot of maps. Maybe it'll help you on some maps, but basically what you're getting into TL7 is a tier 9 medium tank with a triangle next to it. As I mentioned, so the closest comparison is honestly the chart feature. Cobra's here with its standard round, which is very similar to the TL7, although with the Cobra here, shooting your standard round, it's heat, and then obviously you have the Hesh, which most people use, but statistically this thing isn't like a must-have. You know, 10 degrees of gun depression is nice. Your DPM isn't great, as you see. It's not great. Your accuracy is awful. On the move accuracy, because you're a tank destroyer, not good. Hit points, low because you're a tank destroyer. Armor, hold down, you can bounce some lower tier shots, but to be honest, like, most things are going to pin you anyway if they actually connect on your turret and you have a small cupola even with your gun depression. Mobility, it's okay. It's not as fast as the chart feature. Specific power is a bit low too. It is faster raw speed going forward than, say, a Cobra, but not backwards. So mobility is okay, but not great, and when it comes to camouflage, you're not better than the char feature, even though you're a tank destroyer and you're pretty tiny, and your V range is not that great either. So statistically, this tank, you know what you're getting gameplay wise. Where sure, the gun depression's nice, but your accuracy kind of ruins it. Where you do have really high shell velocity, but it doesn't matter if your shell goes into left field and you can't hit anything. So being a tank destroyer, I feel like, really hurts this tank, just because Wargaming gave it bad on the move accuracy, low hit points, and also as a TD being matched up against tank destroyers, that might be really bad for your team and you. If the enemy team gets a T95, I'd rather have a freaking T95 or a Tortoise than a TL7. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to factor in. Otherwise though, like, to me, like, this tank, it is different and quirky, but that doesn't always translate to being a great tank that a lot of people will like to play. I like playing quirky and different tanks, but to be honest, this tank isn't worth getting specifically based off of the gameplay and the actual performance of the tank. Last but not least, so, like, going over the event that it's being released in, so the Call to Mars event. This, to me, is, who knows what else we'll see here in 2023 from Wargaming, but, in 2023, we've seen some crazy stuff, come, and some crazy stuff almost come to the game, and, like, now we have space laser tanks. This seems like, gameplay-wise, kind of Wargaming's take on that old 8-ball, like, lunar mode that they had, but also Rocket League, in a sense, where it's a fun little quirky mode. I'm sure people will have fun with it. It's not meant to be taken seriously, and it's kind of like a quick thing to do. Good thing is you do get some goodies for playing it, specifically experimental equipment that we finally see Wargaming bringing out after kind of a hiatus for that. You do get a little Martian container, some bonds, and as you level up components, a little bit more bonds, and another, freebie Martian container and some personal reserves. So, like, there are some goodies for playing this. Honestly, like, at not having to play this as much as, say, Onslaught, the rewards for this are actually pretty freaking fantastic compared to that mode. And, more or less, it seems like a fun little quirky mode. Personally, I'd rather Wargaming spend more time on the game itself and just bring back previous events like the Chaffee Racing or Homefront and events like that, rather than completely design all new, brand new modes where I feel like they could literally do the same type of monetization on existing events that they already have done. But for a different video. In any event though, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and helped you out a little bit with the event and what's going on with regards to the new TL7 without a 1 and, the loot boxes and everything else. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. See you around.